Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and we are going to talk, this is going to be just my dialogue about the experience of going to GaryCon. So, let's go. Okay, to start out with, most people that don't live close, they fly to GaryCon. I, of course, hate flying. Hate getting on airplanes. I'm a control freak, somewhat claustrophobic, can't stand flying. So we generally drive. And my wife and I made a whole road trip out of the thing. And it was fantastic. It was a lot of driving and everything else, but we got to see a lot of stuff along the way. And then we spent, I think we were there for 6 days at in Lake Geneva. So anyway, I will start out by saying that along the way, I showed these in the overall loot video that I did a couple days ago. These little ceramic, like mini type deals that I found, and when I saw them, there's another one. This is the that's actually got a shield on it. That's actually a weapon cart type of a deal, and they're all ceramic. And when I saw them, I said, "Man, those are perfect sized for my giants, And so here is a hill giant from the Wizards of the Coast hill giant deal, and as you can see, those are the perfect sized weapons for. I mean, if you put the sword up against his club, same size and everything. And there's even a little anvil that has it has tools and stuff on it and all that. And you've got your giant, and so there you go. That was just a happenstance. We were in this general store in Amana, Iowa, and they had, I did a live video from that general store. It was the biggest general store I've ever been in my life. 2 stories and huge. It had everything you could think of. And prime example, where else would you find something like this, So that's going to come in real handy if and when in my first edition campaign, my players do run into giant habitation. Those little atmospheric elements will come in handy. So that was on the way, and then we get to Lake Geneva and the con and all that. And the day before, the con actually starts on Thursday, but the Wednesday before, Frank Metzner, who did all of the basic D&D box sets, the red box, blue box, all that stuff, as well as a ton of other stuff that he did. But I think he's best known for the Beckme, stuff. He has a little party, and when I say little, I shouldn't say little. I think he had 200 people there at his house, and they call it the Franken Party. And one of the things that Frank does there is he has a little scavenger hunt here, and I'm not going to show it because I don't think he wants me giving out the answers and all that stuff. But trust me, there is a scavenger hunt throughout his house that you have to find all these things and put the correct answers and all that down. It's called Hunt for the Dragon Treasure, and if you complete it, and it ain't easy. It is not easy. If you complete it, you get a whole set of these dice right here. And these are prototypes from this red box set that they had ordered. And he's apparently got boxes of them, cases of them still. He had a thing full, a trophy that he had filled with these, so everybody that came to the party got one of these. And now that I think of it, I didn't have my wife grab one. I could have got 2. Darn it. Anyway, so I got this one, but I did not. We had to leave because we had to get back and help set up for our top secret New World Order game. I had to get back and help Jason, who was getting off the airplane, had to help him set up the tables and the displays and all that stuff. So I didn't have time, so I didn't finish it. So I did not get a whole set of the dice. However, while we were there, one guy did, and he got a full set. So that's one of those cool experiences that you can't really describe unless you're there. I mean, you can try to describe it, but it's just one of those experiences you got to be there. And also, I took a lot of pictures. I put 100 pictures on my Facebook account, Greyhawk 4x4 Facebook account. So all the stuff I'm talking about, you're going to find pictures there if you want to go there, check out the pictures. Next thing. So they have a dealer's area there, of course, where they sell all, booths. They have the booths that sell everything, And one of my bucket list people that I wanted to meet is Darlene. She's known as just Darlene, and she's the one who, you can't really see it, but I've got my World of Greyhawk map, huge four-panel map on the wall here. She's the one who did that map originally, back in the day. She's the artist who did that map. And she also did this Dragon magazine cover, number 37 it looks like, and she had these prints there, so I bought one of them, and she, of course, signed it for me. So that has got to get framed, and I have to find a spot for it somewhere here in the tavern. But anyway, so that is a highlight, getting to meet her, getting it signed and all that. Then I ran into Jim Ward, who wrote, of course, Greyhawk Adventures, as well as all the other stuff that he has created and done and everything else. But of course, this is one of my favorite hardbacks because I'm a Greyhawk freak. So he signed that for me. So was able to get a couple of cool things signed there, and put that down there. Then, well, actually, I'll start with this. So then, in the dealer area, of course, I run into, he's known as Major Wesley, David Wesley, but they call him Major Wesley because he was retired from the military as a major. And he is the man who is credited for coming up with the concept of role-playing in a game on a table. He was a war gamer along with Dave Arneson and all those guys, and they had and he was explaining this to me. He explained the whole story to me, and he said the way it was is that he was in every one of their war games. It was always, there's winners and there's losers, and that's it, And he always thought, what if one of you took the persona of one of these guys on your battlefield, and he or she had to deal, well, it would be he in those time periods, of course, he would have to deal with something like getting disciplined or getting into a bar fight or whatever. And he was the one who came up with that idea of, and then having a referee. There was always a referee in the wargaming thing, but then he was like, come up with the idea of using the referee to kind of describe the events and what was happening and all that type of stuff. And then Dave Arneson, who played with him, kind of took that idea back to Gary Gygax, and they talked about it and everything else. And Dave started working on his campaign, Blackmore, and Gary started working on Greyhawk, and then things went from there. But the way that Mr. Wesley, and this is the original rules that he had, were called Braunstein. And it was based on a fictional town in Germany in the Middle Ages. There's no wizardry, there's no magic, there's none of that. It's just about, medieval combat. And the way he gave credit to Gary was that, yeah, he kind of came up with the concept and everything, and then Dave started working on the Blackmore campaign and so forth. But Gary was the one who figured out a way to monetize it, to make a full rule set and everything else, and then publish it, use his money to publish it and everything else. And basically the way Mr. Wesley said was he was the one who took the leap and and to create Dungeons and Dragons, So this is called Barons of Braunstein, and this was a company that thought Mr. Wesley had passed away. So they went ahead and started publishing this, thinking he died, and he called them up and said, hey, guys, I'm still around, and I didn't give you guys permission to do this or whatever. So they came to an agreement. He would allow them to do this, and then he kind of dictated how he wanted certain things done, And then he even did an insert here that talks about his original concept and everything. So this is as close to the original role-playing game as you're ever going to find. And of course, he signed it for me, Mr. David Wesley. So, big highlight. Next, let's put that down here. So, as you know, I've talked a lot about it here recently, and for the longest time we called it Codename Accurate Herald, because we couldn't talk about the name. But we unveiled it at GaryCon, and we call it Top Secret New World Order by Merle Rasmussen. Right there. And Merle is the one who wrote the original. Right here. The original Top Secret. And, of course, the very first adventure that went with it. Spreckenholz-Testel. And I lived in Germany for 3 years, so you'd think I could pronounce that better. But anyway, so this was the original module that came in the box set and everything. And because I worked with Merle on New World Order, I had plenty of time there to ask him to sign this, so he signed it right there. And he also signed the same way on this one. So I've got my original box set right here that will go back in the box, both signed by the administrator himself. And not only that, but of course I got to work with him on the new game. So major highlights all the way around. Another thing I wanted to talk about was I was able to. This was a Kickstarter from Goodman Games. This is Metamorphosis Alpha Epsilon City, and there's the name right there. And this is an expansion for the collector's edition that they did, the Kickstarter they did for Metamorphosis Alpha, the new version that they did with Jim Ward and everything. And one of the things I wanted to show you is how nicely they package everything. This is the shipping box. So if you do one of their Kickstarters, and this is solid, you know, everything is well protected in here, and they even put artwork on the shipping box. So I just thought that deserved a little, you know, a little bit of an attaboy there, because that just shows a commitment to detail and everything. And let me see if I can get it out of here easy enough to show you guys. And there's the actual product itself. And it's pretty thick. And it's pretty heavy. So, if you do not know what Metamorphosis Alpha is, Jim Ward created that. It was the very first science fiction role-playing game, shortly after Dungeons and Dragons. And I have another video on my channel where I talk all about it and all that. So you can feel free to go back if you want to learn some of the history and everything, or you can Google it, whatever. But that was fantastic to be able to just pick that up and bring it back. Another thing I wanted to talk about was how nice all the people in Lake Geneva were. It's a small town, it's smaller than you would think. And of course it's right on the lake. All the proprietors there, we went into the game store and they gave us free dice, a couple of these, just because we said, you know, we're there for GaryCon, whatever. And then we went to the liquor store, and I bought the stuff I showed on my other video, and she said, oh, you guys are from out of town, so you guys get a discount. So she gave us a significant discount. She gave my wife one of her little 4-pack deals of wine. She gave one of those to her for free, and then she comes back over 2 6-packs of beer, and she's like, pick one. Which one do you want? And I was like, she had like Shock Top and then one from Wisconsin. I'm like, well, I want the Wisconsin one. She goes, okay, that one's free. And she just, free 6-pack of beer for, you know, and on top of the discount and everything. I was like, am I in Bizarro World? You know, like, people are giving out shit for free. the hell, you know? It was just, they're just happy to have people coming to the town for GaryCon and everything. So it's a great experience. So now, having talked about all of that, let's just talk in general about the experience of being at GaryCon. Every living legend that I can remember, I can think of, from the tabletop role-playing game world was there. I got to meet Tim Kask, Tom Lamb, Darlene, Jim Ward, David Wesley, Jeff Perrin, Mike Carr, Frank Metzner, and I know I'm forgetting people, Peter Atkinson, and Stephen Pokorny, and Stefan. I was corrected by that. It's not Stephen, it is Stefan. Stefan Pokorny, who does Dwarven Forge. I mean, the list just goes on and on. There's just more than I can think of right now. And one cool story, when we were at Frank Metzger's, and his wife's name is Deb, Frank and Deb's, for full disclosure, Frank and Deb are also part of the new TSR. We're all kind of in the same group, you know. And so there was a bunch of people cooking in the kitchen, and my wife loves to cook, so she went over to ask if she could help and everything. And there's this great big guy, and he's baking and cooking and all this, you know. And he makes these things called wands. He calls them wands of porcus. And they were basically like a puff pastry wrapped around like prosciutto ham or something, and maybe some bacon and everything, and then a couple types of cheese. Just, yeah, incredible. But he called them wands of porcus because they were long and shaped like a wand, you know. So at some point, Frank says, "Oh, that's, you know, that is Jason Bullman." I'm like, why does that name sound familiar? He's like, well, he's the one who created Pathfinder. So the guy who wrote Pathfinder is cooking in the kitchen with my wife and Deb Menzer at Frank's party. And then later on, we're back at the resort or whatever, and I'm drinking beer with this guy. Great guy. Giant guy. And we're drinking beer and telling jokes and everything. And every night it was till 2 in the morning, everybody's sitting around drinking. And Satine Phoenix is there. And Stefan Pokorny, of course. He's legendary for partying and everything. And one night, you know, Peter Atkinson is there. And Frank was there for late one night, if I remember correctly. And it was just incredible. And then, of course, all the gaming stuff. You know, you have the Table of Honor for Gary, and you have Hawaiian Shirt Day on Saturday, and you have open gaming, and you have scheduled gaming, and you have the relics all over the place to look at. And I missed the auction. Somehow I missed the auction. That was unfortunate. But anyway, so that is kind of, and I'm losing my voice, that is kind of the recap of GaryCon. Those are just, I mean, that's not all the loot that I got. You guys saw it before, but I wasn't going to go into detail about all the stuff I got. But I wanted to show you guys some of this stuff and talk to you about it and all that. I can't recommend it enough if you to make it there one year to go and experience it. I think that'll do it. We will catch you guys on the flip side.